Hi everyone, I'm Stephen and welcome to Audio Nautica, and today we're doing a teardown on this Miller Kriesel V75 Mk2. There's the operation manual for it. I bought this subwoofer in 1999 and I paid 950 Australian dollars. This was really the last speaker component that I bought when building my home theatre. I already did a teardown on the Polk Audio speakers that I bought for the fronts, the centre and the rears. And to be honest, I was a little bit disappointed with what I found when I did the teardown on those. For some reason I'd kind of got the idea that they were American, but I think they were probably made in Mexico. But this was definitely made in the USA. And so if we just have a little look, so if you find one of these days, they are almost all missing this little logo thing on the front, because I guess it's the first thing that a child is going to pull off. So most of them are missing that. So then of course on the front we have the actual speaker driver itself, and it looks like it's about 10 inches or so. So there's our speaker driver. Looks like I've got a little bit of mold around the foam there that I'm going to have to deal with. Just been so wet here in Sydney all year. So let's have a look at the back. Okay, so here is the rear. We've got our power cord here, power switch here. Now, one of the great things about this sub is it has got speaker level inputs, and I needed this when I bought this in 1999 because back then my amplifier was a Pro Logic amp and it did not have an LFE channel. It just had 5-channel output and that was it. So I needed to run the fronts into here to be able to get the bass. Of course it has your line level inputs as well, left mono and right, and then your standard low pass filter, phase switch, and your reference level or volume control as we call it. So here is where it says made in the USA, so definitely made in America is this sub. And yeah, I really like this sub. I bought it for home theatre, but my home theatre system also at that time doubled as my music system. And I like this sub because it is very musical. It is really easy to buy a sub that's good at making explosions and rumbles. But if you want something that will be musical, then you need to be a little bit more discerning. So this sub has been fantastic and continues to be fantastic in that it has a very musical bass rather than just being good at producing rumbles and thuds. So let's start doing a teardown on this now and see what we find inside. Okay, I'll start by taking out this 10-inch driver. I guess one of the things to think about with a subwoofer is, for a music system, do you want a subwoofer or do you want full range speakers? I would say that if you have the space and the budget, always go for the full range speakers, as much as I like this sub. But if I think about my JBL studio monitors, they have got 15-inch drivers in them, and there's 2 of them, one for each channel. So you compare a single 10-inch sub, a 10-inch driver, to 2 15-inch drivers. Which one is going to sound best? Well, of course it's going to be the twin 15-inch drivers. And remember, each one of those drivers is only producing 1 channel, whereas with a subwoofer, typically what you do is sum the bass of the 2 channels and send it to the subwoofer. So it's always a bit of a compromise. Doesn't mean that it can't sound good, but I think that's just my opinion, and probably my preference would be to do that. Okay, so there we are. It is out. Now, it is a nice solid driver, but it's not especially heavy. When you look at the rear of it, when you look at the magnet assembly, it's not the largest magnet assembly in the world. I'm just going to disconnect it so that I can get it out. Fortunately, the posts are well labelled as to which one's positive and which one's negative. There we go, that's better. But yeah, this is not an especially beefy driver. There's the model number. It's a 4 ohm driver. Not sure if we can tell anything else just by looking at it. Not really. But yeah, compare this to the 15-inch drivers that are in my studio monitors. They are clearly much more beefy than this. So that's the front part, and we can see there's like some solid bracing, a cross bracing in there. And if we turn around, we'll come to the amplifier module. Okay, let's take this guy out now. So it's called a V75 because it's a 75 watt amplifier. Okay, now again, 2 more screws. One there. One there. No, 2 more screws. One there. And one there. See how we go now. That's better. Okay. So there's the amplifier module there. Now there's this big connector here which I just need to unplug, and then I've got plenty of lead on this as the fuse cover, fuse holder. Okay, I see. There's another little connector there, so that's your return. Where does this go? Oh, okay, of course, it goes to the power switch. The power switch is there. It's got these little harnesses that take this through. Looks like there's a little MOV or something hiding in behind that boot there. So anyway, I've got more than enough flying lead, so I can just rearrange things so I can have a closer look at this board. Alright, so I've just got this like little shield kind of a thing that wraps over the board. So I'll just get this out of the way. There we are. So we can see that shield goes back to here, which is the line inputs. So this is our amplifier module. And it looks to me like there's some sort of a module here. I'm presuming it might be an STK or something. It's bolted to the heatsink, which is here. So yeah, I can see a heap of wires going in here. I think you can just sort of see those, a heap of wires or a heap of leads coming out of that module. So I would suggest that it's some sort of an STK module. Now, one of the things that I'm wanting to do while I have got this out like this is this thing sits turn on all the time. Because otherwise, when you want to listen, you've got to go and turn the sub on as well. So it is common for subs to just sit turned on all the time, and when some music comes along, they play. So the risk with that is, of course, electrolytic capacitors. Is that the life of electrolytic capacitors is really determined by heat, has got a lot to do with it, and hours, of course. They're rated to a certain number of hours. So, as I mentioned, I think you can see here, August 6, 1999, that this subwoofer was built. And so, yeah, I've had it since 1999. It's basically sat there, turned on ever since. So, I think it's time to be sort of checking out these electrolytic capacitors. I'm not sure whether I can see possibly a slight bulge in the top of this one. These are probably the two most important ones. But then we can see there's also 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 other electrolytic capacitors. They don't look too bad, they look okay. But I want to check those, and you can see there's a little bit of corrosion just on this resistor here. See the green on there, so a bit of corrosion there. So yeah, I just want to give this thing a good check out before I put it back together. Okay, so I probably should have also mentioned that there obviously is a power transformer inside the enclosure as well, and that's part of what comes through to this harness. And the bridge rectifier is just here, right behind that connector. So I'm just not quite sure how I'm going to go for serviceability here. We will see. Because I need to get these capacitors out, which means I need to access the back side of the circuit board. And yeah, the more I look at it, it really does look like these two capacitors here have got bulges in the top of them, which is usually an indication that they are reaching the end of their life. And the next thing to happen is they fail rather spectacularly. So we will see, but we're not going to make any assumptions. We will verify properly. I'm also encouraged to see that these circuit boards themselves, they both say made in the USA, so it's not a case that they've just, you know, offshored all the parts and then thrown them together in the US. No, the circuit boards themselves have been assembled in the USA as well, which is encouraging. Now, let's see. Aha. Okay. So whatever this module is, has just got some sort of tape or something holding it down, so it just kind of flicked off. So the question is, can I roll the whole thing over somehow? This little board here is the these ones for the speaker level inputs. It's kind of glued in somehow or other, so I cannot get that out. So it might help if I disconnect this connector here. So notice the orientation. The red wire is to there. I think that's probably, oh, is it going to come out? No, it's not going to come out. Oh, I think I see why. Yeah, I don't want to fiddle with that if I don't have to. I think that's the LED. Okay, here we go. Alright, it's coming over now. Now there's these little spacer doodads. There's two spacer doodads, they space, there's one under there, the other one that fell out was down there. It spaces this module out. Now, okay, it is winner winner chicken dinner. It is an STK. STK 4040. I'm not sure what that symbol is on the end. It might be a V or it might be a 5, a Roman 5. But yeah, that's what it is. It is an STK. And yeah, there we go. So typical single-sided board. Nice and green, nice and clean underneath. There's only a couple of little bits of flux. There's a bit of flux just there. Looks like something's been reworked or something after it was built. But apart from that, it's very, very clean. So, yeah. Not sure what this is. I think it looks kind of almost like some sort of a foil, but I'm not sure whether it's meant to be electrical insulation as well or not. I don't know. Anyway, it's fine because this entire panel is heatsink, the whole thing. So that's kind of cool. All right, so I think what we need to do now is get some of these capacitors out and verify their status. Okay, we put this on the Esr Tester. I think it measures okay, to be honest. It's a little bit low on the capacitance, but of course these have a tolerance. ESR 0.05, which I think is okay. But this one, it does seem to me to have a fairly distinctive bulge in the top. So, you know, and if that's a date code, 9216, if that happens to be a date code, it's an awfully old part. Don't know whether they would have had stock sitting around that long, as this was built in 99. But anyway, you know, for the sake of it being a part, I'm almost inclined just to replace this anyway. Simply because I know that this thing sits turned on all day, every day, stewing away. Anyway, let's get the other one out and see what it meters like. All right, here's capacitor number 2. Let's see how this tests. Yeah, seems to test okay. But as I say, I'm inclined to replace it anyway. See what we find in terms of replacements and how much they cost. Okay, I've got this little guy here. He's 100 mic, 63 volt. There's a bunch of these in there. Capacitance reads fine, ESR 0.24. It's always hard to know exactly what this is meant to be because it will vary from manufacturer to manufacturer. But if I look at the table that came with the meter, 100 mic, 63 volts, 0.93, so it's certainly well within spec. I have no idea what brand these are. There's some funny little symbol there. I don't know if any of you guys recognize that. It's rated -40 to +85, so they're not 105 degree rated. This symbol here, I've never seen that before, so I don't know who that manufacturer is. And it's not in circuit leaky, it's because these things are spinning around. Try that again. Yeah, it seems to meter okay. Okay guys, so I've done a DigiKey order. I just decided that even though these caps test okay, given that this thing's 20 years old and it sits there turned on all the time, and that these ones that I took out have got a very distinctive bulge in the top, I decided that it would be prudent to replace them. And whilst I'm not one of these people who believes in replacing capacitors just for the heck of it, again, for the reasons I just outlined, I'm going to replace all of these electrolytics. So I found these 10 mic 63 volt ones sitting in my junk box. Okay, they've been sitting there since 2010, but they are brand new, so they should be fine. So that's these two guys here. Then these gold ones, well, these were the ones, that's this one here that I said I can't recognize what the brand is. I got no idea who that is. So I got these Nichicons, which should be quite nice. FW series, I think that is. So these measure about 0.2 ohms ESR on the tester. These measure 0.3, so they do test a little bit better. We're not sort of chasing ESR here, but they'll be fine. Also, there's this power resistor here that the lead has corrosion on it, so I decided that I would just replace that. So I've got a new 100 ohm 5 watt wire wound ceramic resistor to go there. And then, yeah, these two guys here, our main smoothing capacitors, I got these. Now, they are quite a bit larger, but they will fit. And the reason I went for these is that these are very long life. So these ones here are 2,000 hours, that's generally considered to be long life. But for something that sits there, turn on all the time, that's not really very long. These ones here, I think they're rated at, I think it was 12,000 hours. So they've got a very long life rating, and they'd want to for the price. I think these were about, I think they were over $25 Australian each. So there's 50 bucks worth of capacitors here, plus. So, but anyway, this will give me peace of mind that this thing really, it shouldn't have any problems with capacitors anytime soon anyway. I think by the time it's time to worry about it again, it's probably going to be getting hoiked. So that's the plan. So I'm going to get these capacitors changed over now, and we'll go from there. Okay, so I've got these parts changed over, these two nice big BCs. This resistor's been changed over, then these gold electrolytics, and then these little guys here as well. So the board is screwed back in. So now we'll get this reassembled and give it a final test. So far so good. Let's plug it into the function generator. Okay, there's 100 hertz. That's 35 hertz. That's 20 hertz. It's just kind of really hard to grab the slider on this function generator on this iPad sometimes. I don't know why, but it is. Okay, that's back at 100 hertz. Well, there you go. It seems to be working. So I think we will wrap this video up now. So that has been this Miller Kriesel V75 Mk2. Hopefully it's got another 20 plus years left in it now, having this nice little refurbishment done for it. Just commenting on my thoughts. I'm pretty happy with the build quality. I mean, yes, it's a consumer grade subwoofer. And at the time, this was their lowest end subwoofer without going to the cheapest one, if you know what I mean. So there was a cheaper one that had an 8-inch driver, and the sales guy at the time basically said, just don't buy it. So this was their most economic real subwoofer, if you like. I'm very, very happy with it. Made in the USA, unlike that Polk Audio stuff. I think the build quality of this is much better than the Polk Audio stuff. Yes, you can still see that it's been built to a price in terms of, you know, the component selections. It's not the highest end component selections, but neither is it rubbish. And the build quality itself is pretty good. So yeah, I'm pretty pleased with this subwoofer. I think it was good value for money for what it was at the time. It served me very well. And yeah, I rate this certainly above those Polk Audio speakers that I still have. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you'd like to see more content like this, please consider supporting me at Patreon, and especially subscribe to my channel. Give me a thumbs up, and I look forward to seeing you on the next video. Bye for now.